Well, you kind of touched on a question that I asked pretty much everybody,
Yeah.
which is, what was the first record that you bought with your own money? And the
Mhm.
reason why I asked that, and it's not to say that like, we're given records or
Yeah.
some, a parent or a friend or a neighbor will pass something down, and that's great in its own right. But I would say like when you buy, you save your money and you buy your own thing for the first time,
Yeah.
you actually make a purchase that is you, that you've decided to do with your babysitting money or whatever it
Yeah.
was. It's pretty special. So was that cassette the?
Yeah, it was it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you
Well,
people-
I grew up listening, my parents loved the Talking Heads and Bruce Springsteen. Like when I was when I was 7, I think I was 7 or 8, we had this thing called the Harvest Fair at the school in Bolinas, and there was a talent show where like you would do lip syncing. And I did Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, which is like not what most like 7 or 8 year old girls were doing as their song. But like, that's like what I grew up listening to. And so like to me it made sense.
It does. It does make sense. Uh, another question that I often ask the people that do this with me is like, what was the moment when you knew music was your thing? Like when you knew that this is exactly what you wanted to do, what you had to do, it was who you were.
Oh man, one moment I think I don't think I can't think of like a defining moment where I was like this is it, but it was always who I was. Like, and I went through there's so many different phases of my love for music. I remember it from, when I was little and listening to music with my parents, and then I had like a phase when I was like, uh in like let's say like 9, 10, 11, 12, where I really love country music. I Garth Brooks poster on my wall, and it's like, I mean, just things that you wouldn't expect, and then going and listening, I remember like all like, listen to Sublime or Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Red Hot Chili Peppers, like growing up in the 90s, like, those bands were like such a huge part also. And then I'm willing to just like put it all on the floor here. Also, huge 311 fan as a teenager and a young adult. Like, it's just like I remember like all the phases, and I think about it. I think about
Awesome.
like going through, and then also like obviously hip hop. Like, well, Snoop. Like, well, now I work with Snoop a lot, but like growing up, also Snoop was like such a huge part of like music to me. And I think that all of like my love for different genres of music is kind of what has led me to be a good promoter, because being a good promoter, you have to understand music. You have to understand not just like, I don't mean it from like a technical point of view, but you have to understand it from like a fan's point of view, and just the reality that just because you aren't a fan of that music doesn't mean it's not really, really important to somebody else. And so, I promote so many artists that might not be what I go into my car and I listen to when I'm driving down the street, or when I'm at home and I just want to like call, like, like chill out, or if I want to party or whatever it is. They aren't the records that I'm putting on, but to somebody, it's such a big deal. And I think that, it's just been like, there's not one moment, but it's just always been in me. It's just like, I knew there's nothing in my life that comes close to what music is to me, and just truly understanding that it's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, it's just the most natural thing that I do. It is, in the days that I doubt myself, usually there's a day that comes after that where I'm like, oh, okay, it all makes so much sense. Like, I feel it like in my bones,
And you're a great person for it. And I think pretty much what you were just saying is testament to it as well. I remember talking to our mutual friend Nick Berry of
Yeah.
and talking to him about Billie Eilish
Yeah.
and how I think I don't even remember how it all came up, but it was just like this girl is a phenomenon, and
Crazy.
I remember feeling this way when we were like, how is it that as a man in his 40s, I'm more inspired by a 17-year-old girl from New Zealand than anything else that's come out this year?
Yeah.
And it's just like just this truth that's coming out of her. And when we were talking about Billie Eilish, he was like, that girl, say what you will, she will be the Nirvana of her generation. Like,
Yeah.
she will
I mean,
have
you feel that.
and
I
inspire.
saw,
Yeah, and it was
sorry.
just no, it was just like a really cool way of putting it. And this was done via social media or something like that. And of course, everyone's got an opinion out there. So some people are like, no, 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 whatever. It's like, yeah, well, whatever, okay.
Yeah. Well, I saw her, she played Great American Music Hall for her first, no, actually, I think she played Rickshaw first, and then she played Great American after that. And I went and saw that show, and it was just like, crazy. Like it was, you just feel that energy from, and I remember feeling that way when I was a kid, you know, being at shows and just feeling like the person on the stage and the lyrics and the music understood you and you understood them. You know, it's that relationship people have with bands, and especially when you're young and you're learning about music and you're really emotional and hormonal and all those things. Like it's such a different experience to be young and to be a music fan and just have that innocence of just like pure joy and like attraction to what's being given to you. And, you know, from, you know, the very first days of what she was doing, she's had that just ability to connect. And I think also, you know, the relationship with her and Phineas, you know, her brother, who's the other main part of the band, like it's, you know, it's so unique.